because they don't want me to. That's why I do it. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's daily Defense the National broadcast begins right now in the 6 Hour Studios. Mark Walters filling you a prescription for freedom today and every day. And on this Monday through Friday edition of the weekday show, here in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication Command Center microphone, here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch, it's all being brought to you by X Insurance. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing, brother? All right, so we got all the live streams up. Facebook's running live, facebook.com/Armed American Radio. I'll let you give people the rest of that gig. And then we'll get cracking today. We have one of my favorite guests of all time ever, David Codry, is going to be joining us as soon as you're done with that spiel, and we'll get on it. Yeah, that'll do it. YouTube, Rumble, X. Enjoy watching. Please like and share the post. We'd appreciate that very much. David Codria, my brother from another mother, fan favorite, and an original, just an OG. You are the OG. You are a legend. David Codria, citizen journalist and legend, not just in your own mind, but in my mind too. How you doing, brother? Well, hey, that's okay. If that's what happens, it happens. It's no big deal. You need a big on-air sign out there, right? Just, hey, it happens, right? It happens. It's okay. It's no big deal. All right, David. You got a piece coming up. Has it published yet? I don't want to give anything away or steal any thunder from you. You shocked? Yes, this is. I think I sent you a text and said, this is a full hour, no question about it. Because honestly, ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about machine guns, I've always said, if I should be able to buy whatever I want out of a vending machine, because I'm no threat to anyone, no one. So why can't I? Let's just start with that question. Let's go back and talk. Well, you got the Hughes Amendment. Let's go back to 1930s. Let's go up into the Hughes. Let's talk about it. Why can't I buy a machine gun, David, right now today if I want one? Full auto. I should be able to buy whatever gun I want. Why can't I do that?
Because the government has usurped power, nowhere delegated to it in the Constitution, and basically they don't want you to have one. And they knew, at least back in the 1930s when they wanted to ban them, that they couldn't actually ban them, okay? So they had to come up with this tax scheme. and put the $200 tax and the stamp and the registration and all that onto it, which again they had no authority. The Second Amendment is pretty clear. It says arms, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Arms are what was even recognized, in the Miller decision and in the Heller decision, repeating after that, what was in common use at the time by the people to bring into ordinary military use. The whole purpose of the militia is to meet an enemy, whether it's foreign or domestic, and to be able to best it on the field. And if you're going to say, well, you can't have the same common use weaponry that the infantry has, then you're basically sending these people out to their slaughter.
Yeah, because in common use, you're the only one that's ever talked about this. I don't recall talking about this with you. Well, I think we have in the last 15 years. It's likely come up. But ladies and gentlemen, in common use works against us in this argument is where we're going here, right?
Yeah, unless it's in common use by an infantry. Then I'll shut up and you'll have no problem from me.
Well, okay, but
if it's only in common use with what's allowed.
Well, let's go back to the basis of the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia, meaning a well-tuned, finely tuned militia, which is me, being able to use my own arms. And you went and you gave us one of the quotes from Coates, right? About how the government should not be able to do these things to us, because we should have the same arms they have, essentially. And we'll go into that quote in the next segment. But this whole in common use, we use this argument. I use it all the time on the show, that they cannot ban what's in common use. Well, they kept us from having a fully automatic weapon in common use. They made that call. And they made that call in violation of the Second Amendment, did they not?
And there's one other danger. It's not just what they've banned us from currently, but look at the weapons development that's taken place since the Second Amendment was written. Mm-hmm. Okay? And they just had muskets. Okay? No, they were developing all kinds of technology, and we could get into that in a whole other segment. But the bottom line is, look at the weapons development that has arisen since, and the way it's gone almost exponentially. And what this does is this keeps from we the people, the militia, any weapons developments that will come in the future because they're not in common use. And this will basically render us to show up on the green with spears.
All right,
comparatively.
I want to quote from you in here, and let's see, because the story quotes Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Case, who, in arguing a brief in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn a lower court ruling, asserted machine guns are not the kind of arms protected by the Second Amendment. Besides, the Second Amendment says arms, it doesn't say kinds of arms. Tench Coates' views were reflective of what the understanding was at the time when he wrote, Congress have no power to disarm the militia. They're swords, and that's being used metaphorically, David. And every other terrible implement, we've talked about this quote before, it's quite famous, their swords and every other terrible implement of the soldier are the birthright of an American. The unlimited power of the sword, metaphorical, is not in the hands of either the federal or state governments, but where I trust in God it will ever remain, in the hands of the people. Ooh, that's powerful. Because you're right, They could not foresee the development or rapid development. They couldn't see the future as to what those metaphorical swords would be. So they used the term, I believe he used the term metaphorically, for a reason, to encompass all arms. Hence why he used the word swords, correct? Take us to the break, 30 seconds. That's just my guess, but it would make sense.
Yeah, and for what purpose? I'll continue with the article. This is Tench Cox again. As civil rulers not having their duty to the people before them may attempt to tyrannize, and as the military forces which must be occasionally raised to defend their country might pervert the power to the injury of their fellow citizens, the people are confirmed by the article in their right to keep and bear their private arms.
Their private arms.
In other words, against tyranny.
Correct. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. We've got 3 more segments with the great David Codrea. He is a legend, and he is an OG here on this program. He's been here from essentially day one, or at least year one, and we are in our 17th year. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense in the 6 Hour Studios continues in front of this Patriot Mobile mic here at the ranch right after this. Don't go away. All right, guys, you're watching online. We have audio back from the network. That was a setting change that we made. We've done a lot of work in the studio. If you're watching, you can see that. A lot of upgrades, a lot of firmware upgrades, software upgrades, camera upgrades, etc. And the audio upgrade did not pick up the audio source, which is the network. We were able to make that switch, but it did require the system to shut down. So it is back up. If you guys are watching online, you should have everything back up right now. As far as the audio is concerned, you'd be getting David. I know you weren't getting the network feed; you were just getting me. So we've gone ahead and appreciate you bringing that to our attention. That's why we need you out there, guys. We love you. Thanks for letting us know. But if you want to go back to the video, you can certainly do that. You should have everything now. And if you guys are in the chat, let me know. But it looks good on this end. So thank you for your patience as we continue to upgrade, guys. Segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walters here in front of the 6 Hour Studios, in front of the Patriot Mobile microphone. Remember, visit all of our great partners. Patriot Mobile is one of them. Believe me, these guys are the best. If you are watching, this is a Patriot Mobile phone that I am holding up in my little fingers there. And that Patriot mobile phone is really simple to activate. Just visit patriotmobile.com/AAR. You get a free month. You can do it one phone at a time, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple. Greg, is yours a Patriot mobile phone yet? Putting you on the spot?
No.
Going to be soon, though. See, Greg's going to get a Patriot mobile phone soon, too.
No.
Yeah. You're allowed. It's okay. I'll get you one. So I'll get Greg a Patriot mobile phone. How about that? I just said that live, Greg, so now I got to get you a Patriot mobile phone.
Be sure to give me the newest iPhone. Those are pretty expensive right now.
Is that the way?
Turn around and flip that.
No, you can flip it. No, then I'm definitely not going to do it if you're going to flip the phone. Welcome back, guys. Let's go back to David Kodria. David, welcome back in, brother. Oh, good heavens, man. So many upgrades going on, guys. If you were watching the streams previously, I apologize. All the upgrades didn't put the audio source back in. We were able to correct that for you, but it required a little blip. But it is a radio show after all. So like and share the post. Get them out there. But fun new technologies, always pretty cool. Hope you like the new studio. David Kodria, welcome back in, brother. You know, this is it's a frustrating piece, David, that you wrote, but I have to tell you, it's one of the best you've written, because I do want to focus on in common use and how dangerous that is, because we do throw that around a lot. And we refer back to every Supreme Court case, McDonald, Heller, Bruin, common use, every single argument we make. Whenever they talk about, because you got Padilla, you got Shifty Schiff, Blumenthal, Murphy with the new 2025 assault weapons ban. And what do? We say, no, they can't ban them. That's why we want the assault weapons ban case out of the Fourth Circuit to be granted cert by SCOTUS. Why? Because they can't ban. We need a ruling from them, guns that are in common use. But when we talk about common use, I want to go back to this and focus on this. It's critical, ladies and gentlemen. What makes it common use? The fact that you can buy it. If the government says you can't buy it, well, guess what? How can it be common use? Oh, see, they're trying to ban it after the fact. So this is very dangerous stuff, David.
Common use can be a very useful argument in certain circumstances, but it can then be used to paint us into a corner. And that's exactly what's happening here. And I want to go on with this Jennifer Case, Assistant U.S. Attorney.
Go right ahead.
Because we all know that Pam Bondi put out that memo to all hands on the Second Amendment, basically saying it's not a second-class right, and we are going to enforce the Second Amendment. And that's fine and good. And they've got a new civil rights leader, a Harmeet Dillon, is running the Civil Rights Division now for the DOJ, and is going to treat the Second Amendment as a civil right. And incidentally, she replied to a tweet of mine. She put out a tweet that said the Second Amendment is a civil right. And I said, it's nice of you people to finally, admit that, because I've been trying for 25 years. And I sent her a link to my old Ashcroft petition when we petitioned John Ashcroft to enforce the Second Amendment, and never got a reply back from him, even though we had amassed something like 40,000 hard copy signatures mailed into us that I then mailed to the Justice Department. And she responded to my tweet and said, okay. Now, what that means, I don't know, but at least after 25 years, we got a reply from Justice on this. But here's the thing, this Jennifer Case, okay, she's saying further in her argument, machine guns are not typically possessed by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes. Instead, they're uniformly restricted, highly lethal, and well-suited to criminal purposes. Well, first of all, she makes my point for me, and second of all, she flat out lies, because there are 750,000 registered machine guns out there, and of these, the best argument or best article I could find on it said that as low as 4 have been used to commit murders since the National Firearms Act went into effect. 2 of those were by police officers, and 1 of them was by a Navy personnel using a gun from, using a military weapon. Okay, so don't tell me that, number one, they're typically not possessed by law-abiding citizens, because in fact 750,000 of them are, if you want to use the common use argument. And secondly, good people don't use guns for evil purposes. This is the whole point that Armed American Radio is all about. We are not the problem here.
All right, so let's define common use. At what point does it become common use? There has to be a specific number. Somewhere, arbitrary, There are 30 million estimated AR-15s in hands of law-abiding Americans right now. 30 million. At what point is it common use? 1,112,517? Or is it 1,517,712? Or is it 713? How do we define that?
Here's why I don't want to stick my head into that noose. Because the Second Amendment does not say the right of the people to keep and bear arms in common use shall not be infringed.
Thank you. That's exactly where we had to go with that. That's the logical conclusion that we draw from that. Because if you look at it from an arbitrary standpoint, as the government would want you to do, then there's a specific number somewhere. Ask them for that number. They're not going to tell you. At what point would they argue it's not in common use? At what point would the Democrats say the lethal black rifle, the AR-15, is not in common use? Maybe they will be when there's 30,257,217, but we're not there yet, so we need to ban them. But that would be the argument, logically, that the Democrats would have to try to make if they were using their not in common use argument, David.
Well, this gets into another weakness coming from our side again, where we are giving the enemy ammunition to use against us, is if you take a look at all of these Second Amendment cases, all of them are focused on self-defense.
Right.
Wait a minute. Second Amendment is more than self-defense. You're forgetting the entire first 13 words, okay, talking about the militia, okay, the core purpose that we can amass not just individually to protect ourselves, but collectively with our neighbors as a militia to defend our life and our liberties against, threats against enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay, that's the core purpose of the Second Amendment. And as long as we limit our argument to self-defense, then some judge can say, well, yeah, but you don't need this for self-defense because I can show you that most self-defense situations take place with less than 3 shots fired. Therefore, you don't need a high-capacity magazine with quotes around that insane terminology.
30.
And unless and until you start arguing, no, there's a militia purpose behind this, we have to be able to go to the field and defeat an enemy, okay, as citizen soldiers, then you can make that argument, the judge can make that argument, and then it gets kicked into appeals, and then it goes to the Ninth Circuit Court, which rules against you, and then the Supreme Court has to do absolutely nothing and not hear the case, and you're back to square one again, where everybody's got these things banned.
All right, so when we come back from this break, I want to focus on self-defense, tyranny, and I want to focus on 2 people. I want to focus on Tulsi Gabbard, and I want to focus on Pam Bondi. And I'll explain, David, when we come back, why I want to do that. It's going to be an interesting conversation. I knew this was going to be an interesting conversation with you today because there's a lot to chew on with this. We're viewing our regular arguments every day through a different lens here, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense will be right back with David.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Don't take a sip of that sugar-free Red Bull during the break. Take it when you come back. It's just what I do. What can I tell you? It's a bad habit I've gotten myself into. Welcome back, guys. 6 Hour Studios fired up for you. Please go out of your way and support our partners at armedamericanradio.com. armedamericanradio.com, ammosquared.com. Big one, guys. Support them. Start stacking ammo. As little as $5 a week, whatever you want to do. As much as you want. I give them 15, and guess what? Lo and behold, today is garbage day. I got my You Have Ammo email today. It's always wonderful to get on garbage day. Every single Wednesday when the garbage comes, I get really good news because Ammo Squared feeds me new ammo updates every single Wednesday. Couple thousand plus rounds, 2,400 rounds. It just keeps growing every single day. ammosquared.com. Great idea, great owners, great partners with Armed American Radio. Make sure to support them. And barrelbuddy.com. Emerson Knives, use the promo code AAR. We have some big announcements coming up relative to sponsors. Big announcements coming up over the course of the next one I could make right now, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold off until about June 1st. So looking at about 27 days, somewhere in that range, we're going to have a couple big announcements for you, and you'll like them, except for one. One of them is a little sad, but it's all good. Some big news upcoming. Let's keep going with David Codrio. David, so let me focus, David, again. I want to go back. I mentioned, I said I wanted to bring up Tulsi Gabbard and Pam Bondi. You ready to go with this? Got you, David? We good?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Let's go. I wanted to go to Tulsi Gabbard first. And in 2018, May 11, 2018, Tulsi Gabbard, always up in the air with her, right? I liked her. I knew she wasn't a Democrat, but she always voted Democrat, towed the line. But she started coming out of this shell over the last 7-8 years. Here's her post on Facebook from May 11, 2018. As the debate over guns and our constitutionally guaranteed Second Amendment rights continues, what is often overlooked are common sense actions that many advocates on both sides of this issue agree on. There are practical steps that both the public and gun owners recognize as necessary to keep firearms out of the hands of those who should not own or use them. Tulsi is working to increase school security, shore up and reform our mental health care system, close the gun show and online loopholes, ban military-style assault weapons and bump stocks, and require background checks on anyone seeking to purchase a gun. She has co-sponsored legislation like the Gun Show Loophole Closing Act, the Public Safety and Second Amendment Rights Act, the Keeping Guns from High-Risk Individuals Act, the Assault Weapons Ban, the Support Assault Firearms Elimination and Reduction for Our Streets Act, the Domestic Violence Loophole Closure Act, the Automatic Gunfire Prevention Act, the Gun Violence Research Act, and more. That's from 2018. So the jury was always out, wasn't out at that point. You knew where she stood. That was a public post put up on her Facebook page. Over the last couple of years, Tulsi Gabbard, I believe, has had an epiphany. And I wasn't sure what to make of it until I heard her, David, go into what the Second Amendment actually means. And I made the statements public here on the show. She can never backtrack from those statements because she addressed the fight against tyranny aspect of the Second Amendment, not just self-defense. And that was a big, big, big issue for me, and I gave her the benefit of the doubt. So far, she's upheld that. Pam Bondi, on the other hand, I am not aware of any statements from Pam Bondi that go the tyranny route. Are you? And address both of those if you would.
No, I don't. And you're right. I have written articles critical of Tulsi Gabbard. And, essentially this whole business of we need to keep guns out of the wrong hands comes back to a statement that I made that an internet friend named Codria's Law, and he put it up on Urban Dictionary. And it's my statement that anyone who can't be trusted with a gun can't be trusted without a custodian.
Yeah, shouldn't be walking around.
This takes care of red flag laws, too, with no due process, because if you have proven that you can't be trusted because you're violent and you hurt people, there was a great book written in 1973 by Robert Kukla, and he gave the analogy of imagine you have a man-eating tiger and you put him in a cage. You could never let him out of that cage. You can't give him a 5-year sentence and then say it's okay to let you out, because what's he going to do as soon as you open that cage? He's going to eat another man. Okay? Mm-hmm. And if someone has proven and gotten full due process that they can't be trusted not to hurt other people, not to victimize other people, then it is irresponsible to let them into the general population where they can have a victim pool of their choosing. Okay? Mm-hmm. That just, you want to talk about common sense laws, there's one for you right there. Because guess who doesn't have to go through background checks? The same people who don't have to report their guns when they're required, because Haynes v. U.S. Okay, Supreme Court said that if you get a prohibited person, a felon, okay, who is prohibited from having arms, and you force them to register or you force them to do anything else, that's going to violate their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mm-hmm. That's an absolutely correct statement to make. So the bottom line is all these gun control laws do is they apply to us, quote-unquote, law-abiding people. And by the way, I prefer the use of the term peaceable people, because I have been an unlaw-abiding person. I have been a quote-unquote gun criminal. As a matter of fact, I think yesterday before noon I committed 3 violations. I try to do one a day. What was that? The cranberry people. A can a week. That's all we ask the almond people, right?
Yeah. Oh, David, you kill me. Texas Huntsman on our chat here just put something up about Gabbard. See, this is the crap that keeps me from being on board with Gabbard. Maybe unfair, but it's that once a leftist, always a leftist at heart to me. I want to be wrong, but I simply do not trust her. Now, let me address that. I think it's a great comment, and I appreciate you putting that in the chat. I do want to go there for a minute while we're on Gabbard, because like you, I feel the same way. Do I believe that Chris Murphy or Blumenthal would ever change their ways on guns? No, I do not, because they are ideologues. Period. End of discussion. It is agenda over everything else. I don't believe Tulsi Gabbard feels that way. I do not believe she's an ideologue to that extent. And I've watched her change over particularly the last 3 years, David. Can people have an epiphany? Can they change? Look, I'll be right up front honest with you. My position on abortion has changed over the years. Okay? People's opinions can change. I think Tulsi Gabbard saw the light, and I'm willing to, and I have given her the benefit of the doubt, and so far she hasn't disappointed me. Now, if she does, I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong.
Let me explain why I believe people can change, and the once a Democrat, always a Democrat doesn't necessarily apply. Because I had a very good friend, he's passed in 2016, very great patriot, who started out in his younger days as a full-fledged communist. This was Mike Vanderboe, the founder of the 3% movement, the discoverer, along with me, of the Fast and Furious ATF gunwalking scandal down to Mexico, okay? And you could find no greater defender and advocate for the right to keep and bear arms than Mike Vanderboe, no greater patriot than Mike Vanderboe. And yet, had we met when we were in our 20s, we'd have hated each other's guts.
Well, let me take it even further. I'll stay Ohio-based. Representative Michael DuBose from Cleveland, state representative in Ohio. Michael DuBose voted against, ladies and gentlemen, in Ohio, your right to carry. David, how long has it been since Ohio has had a right to carry permit? It hasn't been that long.
And now we're no permit required.
No permit required. Yeah, that's a whole other argument. We had to go through the unconstitutionality of a permit to get to constitutional carry. When we come back, I want to focus on Michael DuBose for a minute, how people can change. People can have an epiphany, and I'll explain that, because just like you and Mike Vanderboe, there's no way Representative Michael DuBose and I would have been friends. Now, he has sadly passed away a few years back, but he became a very, very dear friend of mine. And he never did flip parties, but he did flip on the gun issue. And when we come back, I'll explain it. It's a fascinating story, and it fits with what we're talking about here. It truly does. Then I want to go back to Bondi. Why? Because Michael DuBose is gone. Michael DuBose had an epiphany as an Ohio representative. Tulsi Gabbard has changed her tune, but Pam Bondi is your attorney general. There's a big difference there. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Martin in the chat, thank you very much for the update there. We appreciate it. I need your feedback, and you guys are doing a great job. So, yeah, it's a work in progress, but a lot of progress was made over the last 3 to 4 days, and you're seeing the results of that today. It's only going to get better, too, by the way. I'm getting ready to come back in 30 seconds, guys.
This segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Daniel Defense. Visit DanielDefense.com. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, guys, Daniel Defense is the real deal. Make sure to check them out at DanielDefense.com, DanielDefense.com. Get on that email list, please, and go out of your way to support all of our amazing partners. We wouldn't be here without them. It's critical that we support them, believe me. And I know it's kind of tough out there. I know I've been talking to a lot of partners. A lot of them are having issues with Chinese stuff right now, parts, stuff like that. One in particular that's going to be joining us in the next couple. Like I said, we've got some big announcements coming up over the next couple, 3-4 weeks. And when we're ready for that, we'll blow that out for you. But one of them in particular is having some issue with some product that comes out of China from a tariff standpoint. And, it's increasing costs and stuff like that. So it's really important that we support our partners right now, please. They've all got great products. That's why they're here. They're the best of the best, okay? Support them. Go out of your way to do that. If you're going to drop a few bucks, you need a new holster, give it to Crossbreed. Best of the best. I'm carrying in a Crossbreed holster right now. Always do. Any of my guns. And I carry every single gun that we have on the program. I'm a big fan of all of them. Sig Sauer, Car Arms, North American Arms, every single one of them. Every single one of them. Daniel Defense, I've got a number of their stuff. So anyway, support them all. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. And a small family business, I want to give a shout out to Clayton Llewellyn and his wife. Okay? Guys, it's not, the threat is not over because Trump is in office. If you need emergency supplies, Heaven's Harvest has you covered. That is a beautiful family-run business over there. Pick up a small pack from them. Pick up whatever you can and support these wonderful businesses that keep us on the airwaves for all of these years. Very, very important. Please support them. They support us. We support them. That's the way the equation works. David Codria, welcome back. I want to go back to Michael DuBose, the rep in Ohio, because here's why people can change. And sadly, many times it requires a near-death experience, okay? Oh, that's not going to happen to me, David, right? I live in a gated community. Nobody's going to rob me. Well, Michael DuBose didn't live in a gated community. He lived in a not-so-good neighborhood where his constituents were in South Cleveland. And Michael DuBose was out. He was at he was going through the legislative process. He got back from Columbus, and he was taking a walk that day to blow off some stress and get some exercise when he was accosted by 4 people who attacked him at gunpoint. He was able to escape, ran to a front porch, screaming literally for his life. As the car on the street with the getaway driver was following him and a couple guys with guns were chasing him, he made it to the front porch. Somebody opened the door, and they took off. He then became one of the most powerful voices in Ohio for the right to carry a firearm. And he and I became very, very dear friends. I supported him. We had a bunch of ammo companies supply thousands of rounds between myself and Jim Irvine and Buckeye Firearms. We were able to help get him training for about him and 23 of his family members and friends. And boy, did his tune change. He saw the light. He's not going back, okay? His messaging changed as a result of what happened to him. And that man called me and my family on every single holiday to see how we were doing and how my kids were doing, and every once in a while for firearm advice. Would you buy this? What do you think about this, et cetera? What kind of holster would you put it in? Everything. David, people can change, and they do. So I think that's important. Now, let's go back to Bondi, because Bondi's our AG. I have no fear of Pam Bondi whatsoever. Why? Because Donald Trump is her boss. However, your article opened my eyes today a little bit about that. Now, again, we're talking about machine guns, and that's, David, even trying to get campus carry in red states is an uphill climb sometimes, right?
Sure.
Machine guns is going to be an uphill climb. Even though we know we're right, I think we may have lost this battle back in the 1930s and again reinforced that loss in 1986 with the Hughes Amendment, or with the Hughes Amendment with the pre-1986 ban. I don't know. You know, I don't know that we get that back.
Well, I never say never. Bondi has a lot to prove.
She does.
She's taken some good steps, but basically, we're going to study this some more, and we're going to give some words. We have seen some reversals in terms of legal actions and things like that, where I forget what the case was. I don't have my computer in front of me here, but they had the assistant U.S. attorney take an anti-Second Amendment position, and within days they had to pull that back and say, no, that's not the case. And I need to see the same thing here, because here's the thing. And I sent you an embargoed copy. It didn't have the last line that I entered this article with. And this I'm going to put out on a tweet. And if you're not on X, you should be. Go, follow Mark. I'm at Decodria. That's mine. So go ahead and get onto mine, because I would really like it if people would help me spread this message. And it is, if machine guns aren't protected, the Second Amendment is a dead letter, and anyone who maintains otherwise is a fraud. And I would like to see Pam Bondi pull this Jennifer case back. I would like to see them stop having these embarrassments come up, because the left hand doesn't appear to know what the right hand is doing, and the Justice Department appears to be bipolar on the Second Amendment, where one day they do something good, the next day they do something horrible, and pull Jennifer case off of this. I know it's a big step, but you know what? If you don't think that the machine guns are protected by the Second Amendment, then anything you say about the Second Amendment is fraudulent, because we can demonstrate that, yes, in fact, the Second Amendment expects us to have the very weaponry that we're going to need to fight against tyranny.
Yeah, if you want proof of that, ladies and gentlemen, all you've got to do is imagine the following scenario, okay? Can you imagine the founders recognizing our Second Amendment, codifying it on that parchment paper after having fought, bled, and died for it, and then restricting it for future generations? It wouldn't have happened. It's illogical to believe it would have. Of course they want us to have what their enemies had, and better, quite frankly, so that we could defeat them on the field of battle. Oh, no, we want the militia to be able to fight, but we only want them to have single-shot muskets. The professional military can keep all the fun stuff. It's not the way it was written, Dave, and it's not the way it was meant. Now, as you know, I believe I should be able to buy a machine gun out of a vending machine. That's my right. It's my birthright. That's my human right. That's my right as a human being. And not to defend myself only, but to defend against whatever threat may be coming my way. So, I'll leave it at that. Bondi does have a lot to prove. They are moving in the right direction. They're moving a lot faster than people are giving them credit for. And I think it's going to be fun to watch it unfold over the next 3 to 4 years. I do want to point out, Martin in the chat says that picture of David Codry you posted on Facebook really needs one more thing, a gas grill in the background. Martin gets it. David, you have 30 seconds, brother. Tell people where they can read all of your amazing stuff.
Yeah, I was cleaning out the Venturi tubes that day. Go to waronguns.com, and when this article that Mark and I have been talking about comes out, it will be on firearmsnews.com. I just got a text from my editor, bless his heart. He's trying. He says it's not up yet, but it will be, and as soon as it is, I will be putting out the link to it, firearmsnews.com, on waronguns.com, which is the clearinghouse for the stuff I do for them, for AmmoLand, now for American Handgunner as well. And so waronguns.com. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, David, amazing. I promise you, one of these days we're going to do a full week with you. I know that's taken a lot of your time late in the day, but golly gosh, we really need to do that. Did I just say golly gosh? That's how well, that's a professional, and you know, and this is an FCC-controlled mic. That wouldn't have come out if I was talking off the mic directly with you or with David. But nonetheless, David Codria, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, follow him, read him. He is literally a national treasure. He is the real deal, and he is an Armed American Radio OG. We'll be back tomorrow because they don't want us to. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow, guys, on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Thanks for being here.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
Oh, guys, too funny. Wish you could have heard that, but I can't repeat that. Actually, I could, but it was a little private. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate it. I apologize for that snafu at the intro. A lot of updates to everything, as you can see if you're used to watching the show. A lot of changes taking place. And one of them was the system firmware updates did not recognize originally, or did not shift back to the codec as far as the input, which gives you the mix minus, which allows you to be able to hear everything I can hear. What I will tell you, it could be as early as tomorrow. That likely won't be, but it could be. We were going to try it today, but didn't want to experiment with it live. But from now on, those guests that want to appear on camera with me will be able to do so while they're on the radio show live on this broadcast. So I've already promised that David Kodria will be the first guest to appear live on a split screen with me while we're doing the radio program. So we're going to give that some testing, and just hang in there with us. I appreciate your patience, but it's all fun stuff. Please follow me on YouTube, follow me at Rumble, follow me at AAR Mark on Twitter. David's right. If you're not on Twitter at this stage of the game, you really should be, because we need every voice out there we can get, particularly on this topic. Make sure to follow me at Facebook, facebook.com/armedamericanradio, or facebook.com/Mark Walters. Do both. I'll friend you either way. And I will see each and every one of you on the radio tomorrow. Stay safe, guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.